Welcome back to another episode of Limitless MD. Today, I have my good friend and co-conspirator, if you will, in Limitless, Dr. Ankeet Udani. He is a anesthesiologist that works at Duke University. He is a super smart guy. He is well-rounded. He's happily married, and he is just crushing it in all aspects of life. And I just wanted to bring him on the podcast and just pick his brain on how did he turn up the volume? How did he turn up the juice on already a fantastic life as a physician to now becoming sort of a limitless MD? What if you could reclaim hours of free time each week, create legacy building wealth, and devote more energy to your passion projects without giving up on your career as a life-saving MD? My name is Vikram Raya, functional cardiologist, high performance coach, and real estate expert. And I'm here to give you the tools, strategies, and solutions you need to transform your life so you can unlock your limitless potential and achieve greatness, all the while freeing up your precious time. Welcome to Limitless MD. Let's dive in.
What a nice introduction. Good to be here, Vic, and thanks so much for having me. I've been a long-time podcast listener, so it's good to be on the podcast itself. So I'm happy to be here. And yeah, I mean, I think, if I was going to answer your question in a brief way, and then we can get into it as we dig through the podcast, for me, it was just all about breaking through the scarcity mindset and going into an abundance mindset. And just, I mean, I'm Indian. I grew up in, my dad's an engineer. My mom taught school. Just like always, it's built into my DNA to be like, hey, can I get a discount? Like, what about this? And like, what about that? And then just breaking through that mindset and just realizing that there's so much more that can come from abundance than from scarcity. That was the catalyst, if I were to put it shortly.
And Ankeet, let's get into this. People really want to know, there's a lot of doctors out there, and most of them make six figures, 100,000, 200, 500 million. Some of the doctors that we work with make multiple millions, but they still feel poor. And can you sort of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not for nothing, because we when we were residents, we were not making that much money. We were eating peanut butter in the call rooms and crackers and apple juice and stuff like that. And those habits, they take a while to squash out, because usually we graduate and a lot of us get married, a lot of us have kids. So I don't think we ever truly feel like we're getting ahead. We're just adding more to our maybe our liability column, as crude as that sounds. But the switch for me occurred when I started really working on stuff that I felt really passionate about. I felt confident in my skills as a doctor. All of this, luckily have, healthy kids, have a wonderful wife, some balance. But then you can kind of see, like, you want it all and it's hard to achieve. But when you really train yourself into structure, time management, productivity, wealth generation, learning a lot. And I think a lot of that comes a few years after residency, after being an attending, after you feel really confident in your clinical skills, you start exploring, right? You're like, I'm a high functioning physician. I've taken all these tests. I've mastered all these domains. Like, why do I need to stop, right? I'm a good anesthesiologist. What's next for me? And then, some people just shut that voice down and they're comfortable and they coast, and they might not ever feel like getting ahead. And then there's others that truly want to go limitless, or truly want to just keep expanding. And those are the folks that are reading every night, that are hiring coaches, personal trainers, eating right, learning how other successful people are doing this. They're not doctors. A lot of them are not doctors, and we can learn a lot from these other folks that are doing outstanding things for society, community, family, their health. And that's, I think those are the steps to take. So I get it. Like, I think a lot of folks come right out of residency, maybe a year or two, and they want to, it's hard to kind of flip that switch. I think it comes a lot after 5-6 years as a clinician.
So yeah,
at least it did for me.
Let's break that down, Ankeet. So it happened for me, right? There's this thing where there's a holy grail for all of us. And for me, it was trying to be a cardiologist. I was like, that's all I want, man. If I just become a cardiologist, dude, like the skies will part, the sunshine will come on my face, angels will sing, and life is just amazing, right? And then you actually get your goal. Like yours was an anesthesiologist, mine was a cardiologist. Like we get our goal. And then you're like, okay, then you want to get good at your goal, right? So you go in, and then all the things that you thought the job was, then you see it's not as shiny as you thought it was. And you know, you're making a certain amount of money, and you obviously there's a scale of where you want to go, but you realize there's a ceiling of some sort. There's some a cap, there's a limitation. And then you have all this energy, like you use it to get here. Now what? And so this all this energy, and you pour it into your job. And for me, I was like trying to, you know, grow us into multiple practices. I was trying to help my private practice grow. I was trying to like do other lines of service. I was doing all this, but at some point it gets limited within just medicine. And then I was like, I can't stop. I can't turn it off. So I had two choices. I can try to kill it and become a mediocre MD, or if I want to stay limitless, then I explored outside of medicine, and that's what I did. And so it sounds like, you know, you've been a published researcher. You're running all these studies. You're training. You're mentoring other doctors in Duke. But what made you step outside of all of that and say, hey, let me work on myself. Let me work on my mindset. Let me work on wealth creation. How did that happen?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And your story is inspirational in itself. And, you know, it's great to see, you know, folks that don't shut that voice up, because I think that's where we see so many wonderful innovations. All this stuff is from people that are really taking the risk, but taking it in a somewhat calculated way. So for me, you know, I'm really, what flipped the switch for me was probably my kids and my wife, and coming home and kind of doing the same thing over and over again, and wondering, you know, yes, I could do this and keep doing the same thing, but am I really expanding, or am I just either staying the same, or actually, you know, there's all these great books that say if you're not growing, you're shrinking, right? If you're not actually feeding yourself and continually growing, you're going to atrophy, or, you know, all that stuff's going to shut down. So I think that realization came to me, and it was really, what am I really passionate about? What am I, you know, even as a, you know, as an APD for the residency program and all these things, I was like, I really loved mentoring physicians, telling them like, hey, this is what it's like in 7 or 8 years, and this is what it's like in 7, you know, after that, and, you know, start thinking about all these things, because they're really important. And, you know, if you, the little steps you can take today will, you know, the dominoes, they'll just knock bigger and bigger dominoes off in the future. So for me, it was the realization of continue to expand. And that wasn't always going to be in the hospital as an anesthesiologist. It came in the form of helping, you know, successful businessmen like you help grow your companies. I found it fit into a lot of the skill set I had as a physician, and my personal skills and my communication skills, leadership skills translated well into these other really fun activities for me, and speaking with physicians all over the country, all over the world, rather just in my local, you know, local arena.
That's awesome, man. So give us some strategies and advice for these doctors who, you know, they're mid-career, they're successful, you know, and now they're looking for the now what? Can you help them answer the now what? Like what's the steps?
Yeah, so I think, you know, the biggest step is admitting that your calendar is full, but you need to create time for yourself and for your self-investment. That's your first step. You need to prime yourself to be ready to explode. And what does that mean? You know, for me, what does that mean? I just swore off watching TV. I found myself, I'd come home, you know, I'd have, you know, fun at work, do great things for patients, come home, play with the kids, hang out with my wife, do great things. I was comfortable. And then I would just put on the Daily Show and let Trevor Noah just kind of like 60 minutes, laughter, news, this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, oh, this is good. I'd fall asleep on the couch, you know, go to bed, wait, you know, just, and like repeat. And it was great. You know, I'm not saying that it wasn't fun, but when I really wanted to flip the switch and like look at my calendar and like figure out where can I find more me time, where it's like an investment and you know, growth, it wasn't coming from the Daily Show. It was entertainment, you know, and it probably fit, you know, helped me de-stress or something, but it wasn't growth. So what did I do? I just cut TV out completely every night, you know, still do the family time, all that stuff. But then as soon as I, you know, was done, get in bed, comfort, listen to some nice music, and just read. And then, there's millions of books to, recommend on this journey, and everybody's at a different stage in their journey. And these books were catalysts. Like I would listen to, Craig Ballantyne, I'd listen to Tony Robbins, I'd listen to all these, all these great writers that are pouring their experiences into books, and it reading these like positive, enriching ideas like right when you're going to bed was just, I mean, I'd still like get tired and fall asleep reading, and I would start maybe 2 pages earlier the next day, but that's just, it was so positive, right? It was such a great way to end the day, and then rewire me, wake me up early in the morning. So, to make your answer short, I think look at your calendar, look at your schedule, carve out daily time to invest in yourself, and go for it. Cut out some of the stuff that's not really helping you grow, even though it might feel good. Try to cut it out and grow.
So self-investment, right? Like, like I have a slide when I do some of these presentations, sometimes when people ask me to speak, it's like, what's the best investment you can make? Is it crypto? Is it real estate? Like, what is it? And really it's in yourself. It's a 30x return. Warren Buffett says investing in yourself, it can outpace any market, right? So I really believe that. So investing in yourself, and that's what you did. You read books, you made a decision, you swapped low quality time, which is, just brain, just mush watching TV, to brain enriching time, which is throwing in a person's life experience that they put into a book. You are able to consume it in 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. And remember, you don't have to read, you can always listen too, Audible too, right? So, and if you don't have time for that, then you can do something called what is it called? Blinkist is like a summary of the best books. So literally there's the technology made it so easy. And you don't want to do that, then just on YouTube, just Google the name of that book, and usually someone has done a summary for you. So guys, you can just consume this stuff, and it's beautiful. And what happens is once you learn it, you can never unlearn it, and it changes who you become. And that's what happened to me. I poured all of this stuff into me for almost a decade, and then at some point it just started coming out. And that's how I got into coaching, like, yeah. I can't just keep it inside. I have to share with people, right? And so when I learn something, the number one thing I want to do is consolidate it and put it into my iPhone. And I'm like, all right, when do I get to share this with somebody? And that's the funnest part of things. So you're doing all this. Now, let me ask you a question. Have people noticed you evolving, transforming, changing around you, Ankeet?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel like when I, in a good way, not in an arrogant way, but I can tell my wife for sure is just like, she sees me, not watching TV, we don't drink alcohol, we don't do all these things now, and we do them together as a couple. We're empowering, we try to grow, we go on, like all these limitless behaviors, like go on vacations, together, this abundant, she's like, oh, well, this is great. Like we went to the Bahamas, just the two of us for a couple days, went to Rwanda, went gorilla trekking, just the two of us, all these like behaviors of this abundance mindset are same thing, just pouring out. And of course, my wife, who knew me, 10 years ago, is like, what's going on? But also, my colleagues at work and, folks that I meet for, either Viking events or all sorts of stuff around Raleigh. It's great. I feel positive at conversations. I love, of course, meeting people, all of our, the folks that we chat with on the phone, physicians, things like that. I just wanted to get back to the book thing one last time, is that one of the things that I think physicians do to themselves is they want to do everything for the first time and learn the hard way. Like, it's just like, I'm going to learn the hard way. Like, nobody's done this before. I'm the only one that's had to do this. I'm going to do this the first time. And in these books, what I've realized, I'm reading things and I'm like, this is me. Like all these things of like people have documented and like ways to, compensate for challenges they've overcome. Like a lot of that stuff is in books, and it's there ready for someone to read, absorb, and act on right away. You don't have to waste your energy on recreating like how to create more, what decision fatigue is and why doctors are exhausted by like 4 p.m. because we wake up at 7 and probably make, 100,000 decisions in a day. All these things exist and they're out there. And so that's one thing that I loved about that me time, is I was like, wow, I'm not alone. Like a lot of things I'm going through, there are solutions already out there for me. I just need to read them and implement them. So it saved time in the long run,
Yes. And, I know you had a record-breaking year for you and your family in terms of like wealth creation, in terms of time, in terms of like travel, in terms of like just, and you were so generous with all your with what you did, but you actually made the most. So it's almost like this abundance is like it's abundance loop. It's abundance cycle, right? It's a virtuous cycle that you're part of now.
Exactly, exactly. And it just took like the first big step, and then it just cascades. Exactly right. And that's a switch. And that's, it doesn't happen overnight, but like I said, it happened with self-development, self-investment, work, mindset, all surrounding yourself by other high performing physicians. A lot of us, working in the hospital these days through the pandemic, it's not the most positive place in the world. There's a lot of struggle, there's a lot of hard work, a lot of sickness. So, surrounding ourselves by physicians that we want to be like, in all walks, researchers, academics, entrepreneurs, just doing that in itself will help you grow. And I think the investment in yourself is the key point.
That's awesome, Keith. And as we wrap up here, I'll have to definitely bring you back on the show, man. There's a lot more we can talk about, and we'll also catch you on your journey as you ascend toward that next level of Ankeet. But any lasting pieces of wisdom and maybe a book rec?
Yeah. So favorite book, easily Perfect Week Formula, Craig Ballantyne. Quick read, you can read it, in a day and a half, probably. Very well done, and implement the practices. And yeah, just overall advice, just what we talked about here. Invest in yourself and take that step.
Awesome, brother. All right, we'll talk soon. And guys, continue to be phenomenal. Appreciate you guys supporting us on the podcast. Keep sharing it, referring some people, and give us some positive reviews. And until next time, guys, be phenomenal. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Limitless MD. If you found value from this episode, I encourage you to share this episode with a friend and let me know by leaving a review. For more information, make sure you check out the links in the show notes below or simply visit vikramraya.com. So until next time, my friends, be phenomenal.